Sometimes I'll get asked, why do you focus so much on the MAGA contingent of the Republican Party, specifically on characters like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others? And I have a couple clips from a town hall that Marjorie Taylor Greene did last night that I think will help to answer that question. And she represents a part of the Republican Party that currently is currently calling the shots in the Republican Party, to the point where she is demanding Mike Johnson do what she wants in full. Otherwise, she'll attempt to oust him with this motion to vacate. And the people representing such a large portion of the Republican Party base, and again, calling the shots and pushing out everyone else from the party who isn't like them, are willing to say what you're about to hear Marjorie Taylor Greene say here. And that needs to be called out. And as I've said many times now at this point, the fact that the Republican Party is the Trump MAGA party means that if you're a democracy-loving, Constitution-loving American, you have to, even if you disagree with me on the particular policies that we want to see implemented, if you care about the protection and maintaining of our Constitution, our democratic process, you have to reject the GOP in full until MAGA is out of it. It's the only way. And this town hall helps to underline that point. Before I play this first clip, please make sure, if you're enjoying the content from this channel, that you subscribe to it. Helps us grow. Just clicking that subscribe button and the like button and alert bell as well. Here it is.
I feel if I had it my way, we would have impeached him a long time ago. Actually, if I had it my way, we would have been successful in our objection on January 6th, and he wouldn't even be president. I'm getting better, though. We'll get there. So,
yeah, so this is being reported on as and discussed as her saying that if she had her way, January 6th would have been successful in preventing Biden from becoming president, which is what she's saying. I will say, so that it's as clear as possible, she's framing it as the objection to the electoral count would have been successful, not necessarily the violent attack on the Capitol. But we have to acknowledge the rhetoric that she was using, the lies that she was using and others were using to justify objecting to the electoral count, the lawful and legitimate electoral count, in trying to prevent the election from being certified. Those same lies are what motivated people to attack the Capitol on January 6th. And what she's saying here is she wishes, and even after seeing what happened because of those lies, even after seeing how people are being convinced to not believe in the legitimacy of our democratic process, with years passing by with no evidence being brought forward to justify such beliefs, she's still willing to say, yeah, I wish Trump stayed president despite the lawful election, despite the will of the people. And that's what those who apologize for Trump's attempts to block the peaceful transfer of power are saying as well. And so what this means is you have a part of the Republican Party. We only have two major parties in this country. One of them is controlled by this movement MAGA, that genuinely believes that our democracy shouldn't have picked the president last time around. At least that's the outcome of their beliefs. I know many of the followers genuinely believe the election was stolen, so they think that justifies something. I think Marjorie Greene knows what she's doing. She knows these talking points are dishonest. She knows that she can't find evidence of her claims, despite claiming that very soon she's going to reveal that the Georgia election was stolen, and then she didn't reveal that, obviously. But she knows what she's doing. She knows this riles up her followers. And then she's using those dishonest talking points to justify the rejection of the legitimate democratic process. And I'll say it again, and I do have more to play from this town hall, but I need to properly emphasize this point. We can't have any other policy discussions if we don't have a functioning democratic process. That's what Marjorie Greene is celebrating, attacking. And I'll remind you of this clip, by the way, as we're talking about the attempt to prevent the lawful certification of Biden's election, that comes from shortly before his election was certified.
I am very convicted in what we're going to be doing on January 6th, and it's historic, and I feel it's very, very important. On January 6th, if you're able, there are going to be possibly 1 million or more people coming to Washington to be there for this historic event. It's critical for everyone to show up and show the nation who we are. We aren't a people that are going to go quietly into the night. We can't allow this just to be gone, just to let it go. You can't allow it to just transfer power peacefully like Joe Biden wants and allow him to become our president, because he did not win this election.
So there she was saying she doesn't want, and she phrased it as Joe Biden wants a peaceful transfer of power. Yeah, you know what else wants that? The Constitution, Marge. But that's what she's openly rejecting. And I really, really want Republicans to think about, if Trump were to win, please really rationally think about this. So let's put our feelings aside and just think about the facts here. If Trump were to win in this election, and then Democrats and Biden, through numerous schemes outside of our legal process, like Trump is now being prosecuted for, tried to prevent him from becoming president, and then Biden just kept being president after losing to Trump, would you find that reasonable or okay or constitutional or democratic? No. And neither would I. As much as I despise Donald Trump and what he stands for, if he won the election, then I would accept that he would take over as the president. And that's called democracy. And people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are convincing their followers to believe, without evidence, that the only way elections can be fair, the only way this upcoming election can be fair, is if Trump wins. And that is extremely dangerous. Everything falls apart whenever you push lies like that. And whenever you cheer on the fact that you tried and you wish you were successful in preventing Biden from becoming president despite the lawful electoral results. And I've said it so many times, but nothing else matters in a democratic system. No other policy conversation matters. So to conservatives out there who believe in the Constitution, believe in our democracy, and you want to continue seeing those things survive, any policy issue you have with Joe Biden, he's still your guy. Because we can, for generations to come, battle it out politically. We can debate and we can be upset with each other, and then use our democratic process to decide what ends up happening, what governance takes place, which policies are implemented. And we can have those policy debates until the cows come home. All right. And that's great. That's democracy. That's beautiful. But we can't have those policy debates. We can't have those elections if there's an attack on the very foundation of our process, foundation of the system that we live within, from a movement like MAGA. And so in this election, while there are so many important aspects of it, no matter where you stand on policy, if you do believe in our Constitution, democracy, there's one candidate that's your person, and that's Joe Biden. Here's another moment from the same town hall.
We should be prepared to hold on and do what is right, to do what our voters sent us to do. But that has not happened this Congress. As a matter of fact, our Republican House majority has failed completely.
Now, obviously, she says that, and now we're getting to a lighter part of this. And by the way, I'll show you Ken Buck calling her out in just a little bit on CNN. But this is funny, because now we've seen this multiple times from House Republicans, which is admitting, as Ken Buck did, actually, you can see him there on screen, what we're going to get to next, that this House majority has been a complete and total disaster, failure, and humiliation. And Marjorie Greene says that for different reasons than I would, or even than Ken Buck would, but she says it nevertheless. And it's interesting to see another example is Chip Roy saying, name one thing that I can run on, one thing that the Republican Party has done in this session. And it's true. They have failed. Now, I don't know, I sort of do, but I don't care what Marjorie would say would be really productive things for the House to be doing. But if you look at this and analyze the last year plus of this House majority, think about it. It's been investigations into Biden. It's been, but what else? Hearings on the Twitter files and speakers getting ousted. Can you think of a thing they've done to improve Americans' lives? Whereas Democrats, the first 2 years of Biden's presidency, had the House majority and still the Senate, of course. And we saw the American Rescue Plan, Inflation Reduction Act, the PACT Act, the Chips and Science Act, the Historic Infrastructure Law, the Historic Gun Safety Bill, the enshrining of marriage equality into federal law, etc. Things were getting done. And the conversation was about policy. Now it's about crazy, chaotic nonsense. And so, as a lot of people were saying on social media in response to that clip, Marjorie, in a rare situation, she's correct there. The House majority has been a complete failure. Then here's Ken Buck calling out Marjorie Greene for her obsessive opposition to supporting Ukraine.
My experience with Marjorie.
Oh, and by the way, if you're not familiar, Ken Buck is a former Republican congressman and just left Congress early because he was so sick of his party.
My experience with Marjorie is people have talked to her about not filing articles of impeachment on President Biden before he was sworn into office, on not filing articles of impeachment that were groundless on other individuals in the Biden administration. And she was never moved by that. She was always focused on her social media account. And Moscow Marjorie is focused now on this Ukraine issue and getting her talking points from the Kremlin and making sure that she is popular and she is getting a lot of coverage.
Yeah. Moscow Marjorie. Brutal, but right on. Accurate, on the nose. And I honestly, I can't get normally I can come to you and explain, here's the reasoning from the person that I'm opposed to, right? Here's what Marjorie's thinking, but it's wrong, but let me explain what she's thinking. I don't know what the heck's going on with this insane, conspiratorial, and just vile opposition to supporting Ukraine. I'm not saying there aren't good faith discussions about how much and how long and whatever. We can have those conversations. But Marjorie Greene, as we've covered in the past, just has this vitriolic hatred for Ukraine in their defense of themselves against an invasion by Russia. And she pretends like we're funding the continuation of a war there when we give aid, even though the thing continuing the war is Russia. They're the one invading. And Ukraine would love for the war to be over if they would stop invading their country. And as I've said before, if any of you hear that sort of, we need to cut off aid because we want peace when it comes to Ukraine. How do you think that's going to go? If Russia learns that the allies of Ukraine are going to stop supporting Ukraine, do you think Russia goes, oh, great, now that it's going to be easier to do what we want to do and they'll have less resources to push back, we're going to stop? That doesn't make sense. They're going to go even more aggressively and be more motivated to enact their horrible ambitions. So crazy stuff there from Moscow Marjorie, as Ken Buck just said. Let me know what you thought of all that. My goodness. And to clarify the question that I asked at the very beginning, why do I focus so much on these figures? Well, because they don't stand for democracy. And if the controlling core of one of the two major parties doesn't care for democracy, is actually actively attacking it, actively attacking crucial American values we all need to agree upon to continue this project, then that has to be our focus, rejecting that before doing anything else.